In the United States, 582,000 persons were homeless as of the January 2024 PIC count. This translates to about 18 persons for every 10,000 individuals. 72% of the participants were single adults, but a noteworthy 28% were members of households with children. Let's dive deep into the matter to know what media doesn't show us. Constitute 50% of all those who are homeless. Nonetheless, representational concerns are more nuanced than that statistic would imply. Compared to white people, most groups of color experience greater, and in some circumstances, much higher rates of homelessness. 11 out of every 10,000 members of the white group are homeless. Out of every 10,000 persons, that number is more than 4 times higher for black people. Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders in particular are notable for having the highest rates of homelessness. 121 out of every 10,000 persons. The racial and ethnic groups who have the greatest rates of homelessness have long history of being oppressed, which includes being denied access to housing possibilities and being forced off of their land. In order to effectively combat homelessness, it will probably be necessary for invested parties to take into consideration the history of America and how it has shaped modern culture, law, and practice. Gender is important as well. Men, who make up 68% of the total population and are far more numerous than women, account for a greater proportion of the homeless population, which comprises both adults and children. Regarding some of America's males, there are serious institutional failures that point to gaps in the social safety net, problems with theater systems, and obstacles to rehousing. In the meantime, a notable population of homeless individuals includes women, both single and in households with children, as well as those who identify as transgender, non-binary, defined by HUD as not singularly female or male, and questioning. They have particular demands and obstacles that also need to be met. Many committed workers in America make use of the few resources at their disposal to assist those who are homeless. 348,000 people can find refuge through the homeless services system on any one night. Even with these enormous efforts, 40% of homeless persons live in unsheltered housing, meaning that their main place to sleep at night is an unfit environment for human habitation, such as a park, automobile, abandoned building, or sidewalk in a city. Living in the open can have a serious negative effect on one's health and safety. People are more prone to be unsheltered than others. 51% of the sample sleeps in these conditions. For the segment of the population that experiences chronic homelessness, the current situation is very grim. 62% of people need shelter. The least likely to live in shelterlessness are families with children, who are frequently given priority for services. 11% of people live in such circumstances. Unsheltered homelessness clearly demonstrates racial and gender disparities. Subgroups may not be equally benefiting from government investments in homelessness solutions if they are not using or gaining access to shelter. Unsheltered homelessness is particularly common among members of the LGBT community who weren't included in the current data collection. Those who identified as transgender, gender non-binary, or questioning on HUD surveys. With rates of unsheltered homelessness higher than the general population, several other groups also stand out. All racial and ethnic groups are included in this, with the exception of women and black people, whose rates of unsheltered homelessness are lower than those of the general population. Additional investigation and examination of the causes of these discrepancies are warranted. Homelessness in the modern era. Since data gathering started in 2007, America has primarily been characterized by slow but consistent progress. Most years between 2007 and 2016, the number of homeless persons decreased. But throughout the course of that almost 10-year span, the overall decrease was only 15%. On January 5, 2024, this article was modified to remove a false statement that there was a 17% drop in homelessness between 2007 and 2016. 15% is the precise number. A new tendency had begun to develop prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. Annual increases in homelessness that were consistent. Furthermore, the extraordinary health crisis can make things even more difficult. How would this affect the efforts of those who were already homeless to improve their economic security and health? Would more people seek assistance from shelters if businesses shuttered and unemployment rates increased? It was challenging to monitor population changes linked to COVID-19. Data collecting was hampered in 2021 by the epidemic. When the complete PIC count was conducted again in 2024, The numbers revealed that the number of homeless people had increased once more, albeit only by 0.3%. In light of the extraordinary circumstances the country finds itself in, the move might be described as rather minor. Results were probably impacted by federal policy. Numerous individuals benefited from COVID-19 related government actions. Numerous people were kept in their homes by eviction moratoria and the Federal Emergency Rental Assistance (ERA) program. More money was spent on housing vouchers and homeless help programs for those who are affected by homelessness. Trends in homelessness, types of households and particular populations. Since data collecting started in 2007, there has been inconsistent progress made toward eradicating homelessness among subgroups. Additionally, not all subgroups saw the same increase in homelessness between 2020 and 2024, despite a modest increase overall. Certain groups had a decrease within that time frame. 1. Young people. 2. Families with children. And 3. Veterans. Owing to variables including susceptibility and prior military service, these populations are frequently the focus of both state and non-state initiatives. Notably, the country has made remarkably good progress in reducing veteran homelessness. Over the course of 10 years, 2010 to 2020, the group's size was reduced by half, or 50%. 3 states and 83 municipalities have effectively eradicated veteran homelessness. Successful coordinated policies and initiatives, including governmental investments, have centered on veterans. Other minorities could receive comparable money and attention in an attempt to achieve comparable achievement. The statistics about the number of homeless people are concerning. Record highs in the historical data collection were reflected in the 2024 point-in-time count. The total number of people in the subpopulation was 421,000, which was more than the 2007 record. The number of people who are homeless on a long-term basis likewise exceeded all previous years. These patterns show a significant change following a period of population decreases. Trends in homelessness by gender, race, and ethnicity. HUD started releasing statistics on homelessness in 2015 that was broken down by gender, race, and ethnicity. The data reporting period in question may not be very long, but it does coincide with the current wave of increasing homelessness. There is clear disparity in the development made by different identification groups between 2015 and 2024, as can be seen in the following chart. Subgroup trends, 2007 to 2024. Certain subgroups have grown larger, while others have either remained the same or shrunk. The trend lines for whites and Hispanics or Latinos, for instance, have been rising. Examining the data in more detail, the subgroup population shifts. Since 2015 figure below illustrates the magnitude of the changes that have taken place within each subgroup. It is evident that there has been a notable increase in homelessness among transgender individuals, a 178% increase, Asian individuals, a 36% increase, American Indian individuals, 30%, and Latino individuals, a 25% increase. One of the main focuses of America's strategy to combat homelessness is shelters. Regarding this type of temporary accommodation, some themes have surfaced since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Homelessness without shelter is increasing. Between 2007 and 2015, the proportion of the population without a place to live fell in most years. On the other hand, that trend has recently reversed, reflecting the pattern for those who are homeless. Since 2015, the number of people without shelter has increased annually, totaling a 35% increase in just 7 years. The effects are not the same for every group. In certain populations, the rate of increase in unsheltered homelessness has surpassed 35% since 2015. Transgender individuals, a 231% increase. Asians, an 83% increase. Latinos, a 77% increase. And American Indians, a 61% increase, are particularly concerning. Western states, California, Oregon, Washington, and Hawaii, that are diversified and deeply enmeshed in the affordable housing crisis, seem to provide challenges. These states are home to a sizable majority of the members of this homeless subgroup. Systems respond by adding more shelter beds. The data visualization presented below shows that, since 2019, the number of shelter beds in the country has climbed by 7%, suggesting a minor improvement in system capacity. Systems reacting to increases in unsheltered homelessness and the availability of pandemic relief funds to provide more shelter beds are two possible explanations. the number of shelter beds had been gradually declining, while the number of beds in permanent housing was significantly increasing prior to this development. These initiatives are loyal to the housing first approach, which prioritizes placing individuals in permanent housing as soon as feasible. Fewer people are in shelter despite more beds. Fewer individuals are staying in these institutions, despite the installation of extra shelter beds. For a number of years, the number of people residing in shelters has been declining, with the year 2021 being particularly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in a lower capacity for congregate shelters and a corresponding decrease in the number of people entering shelters. Beds for refuge. Since 2015, there has been an increase in the number of persons living in the open. After a few years of reducing the number of available shelter beds, systems increased the total number by 7% during the last 4 years, suggesting that they are adjusting for this trend. Significantly, since data collecting started in 2007, a primary cause of unsheltered homelessness has been persistent and severe shortages of shelter beds. At its peak, there were 225,000 more homeless individuals in America than there were available shelter beds. Even if the gap has shrunk, it still affects a huge number of adults. Tell us about your opinions in the comments section. If you're interested in watching more videos like this, then do subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.